Today on Bridge City News, an SUV truck crash in Ontario has killed 3 people, and a crash involving multiple motorcycles has claimed 7 lives in New Hampshire. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says his government will file constitutional challenges to Bill C-48 and Bill C-69. And the Lethbridge Dragon Boat Festival once again brings in thousands of spectators to Henderson Lake Park.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Paul Arthur.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. The 17th annual ATB Financial Lethbridge Rotary Dragon Boat Festival took place at Henderson Lake this afternoon. Back in 2002, the event was initiated by the Rotary Clubs in Lethbridge and has since grown to bring tourists in from all over Canada and the U.S. A number of local clubs are eager to be competing at home.
For the local teams, one of our biggest goals is the camaraderie. We love the fact that everybody gets together, they practice together, they play together, and they usually go out after the practices together and enjoy friendship and a little bit and sometimes a lot of competition. We know that people come to our festival from all over because we have an absolutely perfect venue for racing. We have lots of space where people can watch the races on the water. We have an absolutely excellent festival with lots of entertainment. There's the kids zone. There's just so much to do this weekend that just adds to 2 full days of racing.
From 11 o'clock in the morning here on Saturday until 10 o'clock at night. And Sunday it starts at 11 again. First hour we have E-Free Band, and that is so anybody who missed church at least has a band to sing along with. And then it goes until 4 o'clock.
For the full breakdown of races and entertainment at Henderson Lake this weekend, visit lethbridgedragonfest.ca. The Lethbridge Public Library kicked off their summer reading club today. The program, hosted by TD, involves 2,200 other public libraries across Canada. Organizers say it's a good way to get kids reading while they're not in school.
What the value is of this club is that over the summer we noticed that there's this summer slide. So if we can encourage kids to read throughout the summer and give them kind of incentives, weekly incentives, then they read throughout the summer and then keep that reading level up. So when they go back to the fall, you know, they're ready and set for school. We've got our normal lineup of core early literacy programs, so that's like Small and Tall, and that's where we do songs and rhymes. And then for the older kids who can read, we've got this great program called Ready, Set, Read. And so the older kids come in, and the younger kids come in, and the older kids help the younger kids read. And that's like twice a week, so it's great. It's here and it's over at the crossings.
The library also had a special treat today with the Last Chance Cat Ranch setting up a cat cafe, giving kids a chance to interact with the kittens. The Pride Parade took place in Lethbridge earlier today, following a route from the Civic Centre Park to Galt Gardens. For some Southern Albertans, this is a time of celebration, but for some residents, it is cause for concern. As Lethbridge and every Canadian community is navigating key social topics, the important thing is to maintain open dialogue and understanding. Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says he will fight the passage of 2 federal environment bills in court. Kenney says his government will file constitutional challenges to Bill C-48 and Bill C-69 because he believes they unfairly target Alberta oil and gas.
One of the reasons it is so offensive to this province is because it constitutes a clear violation of our exclusive constitutional jurisdiction to regulate the production of our own natural resources, including upstream oil and gas. Rights that were written into the Constitution in 1982 in Section 92A as a condition precedent to Alberta's concurrence with the adoption of the 1982 Constitution Act. Peter Lougheed would not have signed the Constitution. He would have stayed outside of it like René Lévesque had we not won that essential power now being undermined by the Trudeau government in Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines law. We believe we have strong legal grounds upon which to launch that challenge.
The Premier says he will also bring in a new version of a law so the province can hold elections to fill Senate vacancies. Alberta had such a Senate election law before, but let it expire. The University of British Columbia confirms a retired professor has been murdered in Chile. A spokesperson says Peter Winterburn, who taught in the Faculty of Science, was killed while traveling with his family. Global Affairs Canada also confirms that a Canadian has been murdered but will not identify them. A statement on the website of a geochemistry conference set to be held in Chile next year says Winterburn had recently moved back there after many years away. Local media report that a Canadian man was with his wife and daughter when he was stabbed to death by two people during an attempted robbery in Valparaiso. It was a bad day on the roads yesterday. 3 people are dead and 1 person is injured following a crash in southern Ontario last night. Provincial police say a transport truck collided with an SUV near the town of Listowel, about 160 kilometers west of Toronto. The driver of the SUV and 2 others in the vehicle were pronounced dead at the scene, while a 3rd passenger was injured. The driver of the truck was also briefly admitted to hospital. Meanwhile, authorities in New Hampshire say 7 people died last night in a crash between a pickup truck and several motorcycles on a rural highway. State police say the truck collided with the riders and was on fire when emergency crews arrived. Witnesses described a devastating scene as bystanders tried to help riders that were strewn along the highway. Early reports say the riders were mostly Marine veterans who belonged to the same motorcycle club. Dean French, Ontario Premier Doug Ford's often controversial chief of staff, has resigned. The news came last night with the Premier's office saying French will be returning to the private sector. Just hours before the announcement, Ford revoked the appointments of 2 people to lucrative foreign posts a day after announcing them, following reports they had personal ties to French. French has also clashed with PC caucus members who have bristled at a reportedly aggressive management style that reduced at least 1 to tears. Ford's statement says French had always planned on leaving government after 1 year of service. Meanwhile, the Premier is hosting his annual Ford Fest tonight, but now people need a ticket to attend. The event is still free and open to the public, but anyone seeking to attend will have to register in advance. It used to be held at the Ford family home, but now it is set to take place at the Markham Fairgrounds. Fed up with a lack of cellular service, 2 communities in western Newfoundland have taken matters into their own hands. Residents of Mainland and 3 Rock Cove have raised $80,000 to help pay for the purchase and installation of their own cell phone tower. Their fundraising efforts included talent shows, dances, and donations. The small French-speaking communities had to contribute 15% of the total cost under a funding agreement with the province and Bell Mobility. An expert on domestic violence says several new deals reached between the federal government and one of its biggest civil service unions are the beginning of a wave. The tentative agreements reached late last month with the Professional Institute of the Public Service of Canada include up to 10 days of leave to help union members escape from violent partners. Barb McQuarrie of Western University's Centre for Research and Education on Violence Against Women and Children says she expects more employers are likely to adopt similar policies. The body of a Canadian soldier who died in a parachute exercise in Bulgaria is returning to Canada tonight. Bombardier Patrick Labrie, who was from Buckingham, Quebec, died after something went wrong during a training jump from a low altitude Monday night. The Department of National Defence says Labrie's remains will land at the Ottawa airport at about 8 p.m. and will be met by his commanding officer. The military is investigating Labrie's death. Vancouver Granville MP Jody Wilson-Raybould attended an unveiling of a reconciliation pole and 2 welcome figures outside the Vancouver School District's Education Centre to mark National Indigenous Peoples Day yesterday. The school district says the poles are carved out of centuries-old cedar logs and represent a national first for a public school district.
I was raised by my grandmother, by my parents, to be proud of who I am, to know where I come from, and to know that if you work hard, you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. And on today, Indigenous Peoples Day, we celebrate and thank all the generations that have come before us, that have persevered, that have been resilient and proud and fiercely determined to create a more just Canada. And we are on our way.
Ottawa is responding to what it calls a systematic campaign of repression and state-sponsored violence in Nicaragua by imposing sanctions. Global Affairs says there have been well-documented reports of extrajudicial killings, torture, and abuse of protesters. The economic measures, which are being coordinated with the U.S., include asset freezes and dealings prohibitions with 9 members of the Nicaraguan government. U.S. President Donald Trump says he is still considering military action against Iran after it downed an unmanned U.S. military drone. Trump says he aborted a military strike set for Thursday after learning 150 people could be killed. Meanwhile, a British Foreign Office official will visit Iran and call for urgent de-escalation in the region during talks with Tehran's government. Palestinian officials say what they believe to be a new baptismal font has been discovered at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. The church is the traditional birthplace of Jesus. The head of the Palestinian committee in charge of the church restoration says the water receptacle was discovered during renovation work.
Nobody knows why it has been covered and put in this place, and never written in any historical book about it, either in the church or in the historical books. This is for sure a baptism font from the 6th or 5th century.
In 2013, UNESCO declared the church a World Heritage Site, and a restoration project was launched 5 years ago. Recapping one of our top stories this hour, 3 people in Ontario are dead after an SUV truck accident last night, and a crash involving multiple motorcycles has claimed 7 lives in New Hampshire. And a look at weekend weather. There is a 30% chance of showers this evening, clearing overnight with the wind dying down as well. We'll dip down to a low of 10. For tomorrow, sunny in the morning, then a mix of sun and cloud with a 30% chance of showers and the risk of a late afternoon thunderstorm with a high of 18 degrees. Most of us likely take our eyesight for granted, but taking care of our eyes is so important. Hal Roberts talked with local optometrist Dr. Mansoor Chowdhury about eye health. That interview is next. But first, here's a look at what is happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News community calendar. Come celebrate with your Latin American neighbors at the Festival Latino Lethbridge 2019, taking place Saturday, June 29th, beginning at noon at Exhibition Grounds, Pioneer Park. Presented by the Lethbridge Latin American Association, enjoy live entertainment, dance performances, traditional Latin food, and more. All are welcome to this free event. For details, visit llaa.ca. So much to see and do on Canada Day. Come celebrate at the Galt Museum as they present an old-fashioned carnival. Taking place from 1 to 4 p.m., enjoy games, entertainment, and free popcorn. There's no cost for admission. For details, visit galtmuseum.com. And that's your Bridge City News community calendar.